Hey ladies, so I want to be able to make a video and help you guys understand one of the misconceptions that women have when it comes to dating men and talking to guys and all that sort of stuff. And it's and I get this question a lot because again I teach a lot of very direct tactics per se, like direct, like in terms of like things that you exactly what to do in order to make a guy like you and all that sort of stuff. And in the past, I used to not think that there was no way that a woman could manipulate me in a way to make you like me, but from what I'm seeing, it's possible. Or at least it's more possible, and the capacity for them to learn and excel their natural peaks in prime, as opposed to not knowing this information, is there, and it's a lot higher. The threshold is a lot higher than I thought it was. But generally speaking, though, when it comes to using these tactics to actively, indirectly manipulate people to move things in the chessboard without being seen, and subtly insinuating things and accepting people's minds and making them do things that usually they wouldn't do. Coercion in a way. That all comes down. You believe this? Like one of my ringtones is a is an audiobook that I accidentally put as a ringtone. So every time I get a message, I just hear that ringtone. I'm actually going to change that message to notice your breath. So every time I get a message, it was going to say, notice your breath. I'm going to notice my breath before I even watch the message. That's just something that I was thinking of. But generally speaking, though, what women have to do is realize that it's not going to work all the time. I mean, that's the number one thing that you have to understand, that it's not going to work all the time. And when it doesn't work is during the times when you learn the most. When it doesn't work is during the times when you're able to grow more, because it's during defeat that you're able to face your inner demons. It's during defeat when you're able to see what you're running away from. It's during defeat when you're able to see yourself without all of the vanity, all of the glory that people put upon you. It's during defeat that you see your true friends. It's during defeat that you see your true strengths and weaknesses. So by practicing this actively and putting yourself in positions to get rejected, you actually grow. In the beginning, you're not going to see the growth, just like when you don't see the growth of a child as he grows up, as opposed to seeing the child coming back 2 or 3 months later and seeing that the child grew. So you do grow after each battle that you lose. You grow, all right, and you learn more from defeats than from wins and all that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, though, you're going to most likely you're going to not get the guy. That's what tends to happen. I always say be pessimistic. I'm not saying to have lack of confidence, but be pessimistic, because happiness is a function of expectation, like Jalen Rose says. So you got to realize that you're not always gonna get them, and it's very difficult for women to realize that, because their value, for the most part, at least what they think, and at least what I think too, is based on their looks. It's based on their looks. So you might think that he's rejecting you because of your look, but in reality, most of the time, guys reject women because of the things that they do. If they're slightly interested, they're either desperate, right, and considering you because they have no other option, or because they actually like you. Okay, so when you do something that causes them to lose attraction, I mean, that's what usually happens. It's not that you don't need to learn tactics to get the guy. You gotta first eliminate the behavior that's causing you to lose a guy. It's kind of like, rather than putting on deodorant, first take a shower and then put on the deodorant. Because if you don't do that, then you're gonna have BO on top of deodorant, and that smell doesn't smell good. So it's kind of like having good tactics with low self-esteem. It's not gonna look good, you see. So you actually get to fix that one part through rejection, through observing yourself, how you react to the rejection, and then you're gonna see what's really inside, what's really you're trying to avoid. Once you see it, which is going to be very ferocious, and it's going to be right in front of you, and it's going to be so painful at times that you're going to try to avoid it, and again you're going to be back and living in fear, and so you're going to go back to your own, again, like cocoon of insecurities. And so rather than you actually using these tactics to get the guy, you're actually going to lower your self-esteem, and so it's not really going to help you. It might help you in the short run, but then you become addicted to the stimulus. You start focusing on what's not on the least important part, which is the outcome, and you start losing focus from the most important part, which is the process, the doing itself. You know, the fun of it all. That even though you don't get the guy, you had fun. And if you have fun, genuine fun, you always win. You see, that's the point. Is that you want to put yourself in a situation where you always win, and the only way for you to do that is to set the rules where not getting the guy is not a failure. So that means you got to change your focus, your value system. What do you value? What do you want out of it? And what you're going to notice is that you may notice that it's not that you want to get the guy. You're going to want what? The validation, the happiness. And this all happens to everyone. And unless you catch yourself, you're going to always do it. Because it happens to me too. You got to understand that it happens to me too. And I like to think I'm aware. And it happens to me. There are certain days that I'm not in the mood, and so I'll be more needy. There's certain days when I'm in the zone, and I'm not needy at all. But the whole point is that we all fluctuate. Now, you may fluctuate on the lower levels, or you may fluctuate on the higher levels, which is higher self-esteem. Some days you have lower self-esteem, some days you have, but your average is higher than the average, you know. But that doesn't mean you're not gonna have the highs and lows. So you may not be as attractive as you know, you may be attractive, you may not be as attractive, but you're more attractive than you were in the past if you otherwise would not apply these tactics. But you gotta realize how the game works. You gotta practice it. You gotta expose yourself more to more failure than success. Because I can promise you that the best people in this field in terms of seduction are the ones that get rejected the most, simply because not because they get rejected, because they succeed more. The more you practice, the more you get rejected. The more feedback you get, the more reference experience you get, and the more connections you begin making, and you start seeing differentiating what works. And so, for example, people tell me how hot should I be, how cold should I be? That's something that you learn through intuition. And the only way for you to do that is to go the extreme on both sides. One day, go the extreme in terms of giving the guy space. Go the extreme, block the shit out of him from Facebook. Tell him to go fuck off and see what happens. And notice how you feel. Notice how you feel being rude. Because that's the problem. People don't like being rude. People feel bad being rude. But they don't know that a little bit of rudeness, a little bit of cruelty goes a long way. If you're a nice person, a little bit of cruelty causes a person to be like, oh, wait a minute, what the fuck? I really don't know the person as much as I thought I did. Because I thought that I had them all figured out, and suddenly they did something cruel. You see? So that's what I want you to do. You see, I want you to be okay with being cruel. Okay? I don't know how the hell I got in that subject, but nevertheless, what I'm saying is that that's one thing you're gonna have to realize is if you're gonna do this, you better not try to not get rejected. Because if you do that, then you're back to the same place, which is you're trying to project an image of something that you're not. Which means that the person who you are is not enough for you. Which also means that, remember, the self is always coming through. So what you feel about yourself and what you see about yourself the most, either exaggerated or reality, people are going to see it, despite the fact it may be true or not true. Now, you are going to focus on unconscious and conscious things about you. So for example, there are things about you that you don't like about yourself, but that are not but aren't dominating your conscious awareness, like low self-esteem. Rather than feeling low self-esteem, you masquerade it through feeling superior to somebody else. So you fool yourself through feeling the emotion of low self-esteem through being bigger than somebody else, humbling somebody, you know, like a bully. So that tends to happen, you see. So those emotions are there. So what you're doing through rejection is that you're crumbling those walls in you that are stiff and hard. You're crumbling those walls, you know. And so by experiencing rejection after rejection, you're going to start noticing that more of your fictitious self begins to crumble. You see, in my experience, what happened was, in the beginning when I started gaming, I used to look very preppy, very, you know, like, oh Lord, you know, I look sophisticated, you know. But the more I started noticing that girls started liking me by simply being me, the less like insecurity wasn't fueling my desire to dress nice. Like that desire to dress nice didn't come from me. It came from my insecurity. My insecurity was fueling them, but my mind wouldn't let me see that, right? My mind just told me I just like clothes, and I'll take that, you know, to keep my sense of self. I always thought I was confident, so I allowed myself to believe that lie, and it actually makes sense. And you can actually, if you don't look too deep into it, you believe it. But when you actually inquire, which most people don't do because of the fear of what's inside, the fear of actually finding that in reality you're not the person who you masquerade to be. In reality, you're not the person who everyone sees. You're gonna see that what's really going on there is lack of confidence, a lot of pain, and everyone has that. And the reason why I say that I have it too is because I want you to realize that this is normal. You know, this is just like fucking, I don't know, like Trump, Obama. You don't think they don't feel lack of confidence? Like those motherfuckers feel lack of confidence a lot. They're always being questioned. Don't you think they have Google notification when their names are mentioned? Maybe not anymore, but they look. I can promise you they look more about them. They get offended when they see some things in the press. Like those people, like leaders are sometimes more insecure. They just have to put a charade of being insecure to simply to help people be more calm, because nothing is worse than the people in fear. It causes chaos and anarchy. But nevertheless, though, this is it. You gotta deal with rejection. You gotta have to deal with it. And sometimes it's not gonna work. You know, and what you gotta do is find out if you apply the principles. Did you give enough space? Was it an exaggerated space? How was it rewarded? Did the punishment fit the crime? Did the reward fit the deed? Like the punishment has to fit the crime. So you cannot be act cold for nothing that he did. You know, act cold when he does something that could be suspected as bad, and then act cold but subtly, because he didn't do nothing crazy. It's not like he cheated on you. So why the hell are you gonna be mean? Just be subtly cold, so that if he does question you, he can backtrack. But anyways, it's Alex from mindfulattraction.org. For those who are interested in one-on-one coaching, let me know, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.